All right, instant reaction. Eagles are your Super Bowl 59 champions. We have seen the last couple of years the Super Bowl be really close. We've had a bunch of overtime wins. These Super Bowls have been extremely close the last couple of years, and it felt like the trajectory of the Super Bowl being a really close game was going to be over soon. It wasn't very sustainable to have this many close games back in a row. I mean, last year, 3-point game. The year before that, 3-point game against Rams Cincinnati. It was a 3-point game. You had Kansas City lose to Tampa 31-9, but before that, you had Kansas City coming back from a 10-point lead. But these games have been incredibly close over the last decade, minus the one with Tampa Bay and Kansas City. So it did feel like this could happen. And heading into the game, everyone talked about the team that could blow out the other was the Philadelphia Eagles because of the talent. And you saw that on display. They did what I thought they needed to do to win this game. In the preview episode, I said the way that Philadelphia wins the game is they can get pressure with 4 and don't have to blitz. If they can get pressure on Mahomes with their front 4, they'll win this game, and that's exactly what happened. The most sacks in a game given up by the Chiefs' offensive line. Mahomes couldn't stay up. It had like 52% of their dropbacks had pressures. The pressure rate was insane for this Philadelphia front 4. And that was the game. I mean, really didn't have any momentum for Kansas City. And it was a credit to Vic Fangio, who, by the way, I mean, getting kicked to the curb by the Miami Dolphins and then ending up in Philadelphia, now you've won a Super Bowl, and primarily because of your contributions to it. That has to feel good for Vic Fangio. But just the pressure for this Philadelphia team, way too tough for this Chiefs team. And I look at this Chiefs team because it's a team that not a ton of people believed in. In terms of throughout the season, it was, well, they're winning a lot of close games. They're not as dominant. They haven't had a bunch of 30-point wins like these other teams had, like the Bills and the Ravens and the Eagles and the 49ers had. And so I don't think that there was a lot of people who believed in them heading into this postseason because they hadn't seen it. And as I look at this Kansas City team this year, and over the last 5 years, where they have played in 6 Super Bowls, or 5 Super Bowls, and have won 3 of them, that's a lot of games. They have played in 99 football games, if my math is correct, and my math could be completely wrong. I'm not very good at math, but I added it up. They've played in 99 football games since that first season that they won the Super Bowl in 2020. 99 football games in 5 years. That is a astronomical amount of games. And it just felt like they were due for a clinker, just a dud. And it's unfortunate that it comes in the Super Bowl, and it's unfortunate that it comes at the hands of the Eagles in terms of a blowout. You would like to, even if it was kind of a clunker, that it would be a closer game. But I thought this Kansas City defense did a good job. They limited Saquon Barkley, but the offense kind of gifted the Eagles 14 points in the first half. Obviously, the pick 6 by Cooper DeJean, and then the interception again by Braun in basically right at the red zone. And a couple plays later, A.J. Brown's in the end zone, and you've spotted them 14 points. If you didn't spot them 14 points, it's a 10-0 game at the half, and that's just kind of the way this game went. And then in the second half, it just spiraled out of control. what this means for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that this Eagles team is going to be looked at. I said the other day that this is a Howie Roseman coronation. I think this roster, where you didn't have Saquon Barkley play extremely well, but it was the defense and these defensive players that you brought in, the rookies on the back end that you brought in, Braun that you brought in, Sweat. I mean, this was a masterclass by Howie Roseman, and his talent was on full display there today and tonight. I think it also means, when you look at the Eagles' history, that Jalen Hurts is probably the best quarterback in Eagles history. You have, of course, Randall Cunningham. You have Donovan McNabb, and now with Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts now 2 Super Bowls, 1 Super Bowl win, multiple NFC title games. Doesn't seem like this team is going to be done. I'm sure they're going to be the favorite to win the NFC next year. Just looking at their roster, they're not going to be losing a ton, I don't suspect. And so this team is probably going to be the favorite, them and Detroit, to win the NFC next year. And so this team's not going anywhere right now. So I think Jalen Hurts is going to be considered probably the best quarterback in Eagles history. He has had his 2 best games in the Super Bowl. Last Super Bowl, he performed really well, just couldn't get it done in the end, and Patrick Mahomes just kind of able to do Patrick Mahomes things. And then today, he played incredible. Took what the defense gave him, a lot of dink and dunk, and then took that shot to Devontae Smith in the third quarter, which was an incredible throw. Jalen Hurts played really well, and 2 of his best games in his career have been in the Super Bowl. So you got to feel good if you're an Eagles fan about what you have at quarterback. There are some limitations to Jalen Hurts. There are some things that I don't think he does particularly well, but what he does well, the deep ball, making the right decision most of the time. He's still elusive with his feet. He's not necessarily a runner like a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen, but he is a good athlete that can make things happen with his legs. I think that they got their guy. And I think this is going to just go to show that the Eagles have the best quarterback in their franchise history right now in Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni's going into contract year, so he's going to be able to get whatever he wants from the ownership. What a remarkable turnaround for Nick Sirianni. I mean, last season, this time last year, there was talks about possibly firing him. I mean, there was conversation about, do we let go of Nick Sirianni, and is he the guy that can get us to the finish line? And they stuck it out. And 12 months later, they're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. So he is going to get paid, and I think deservedly so. I'm not a Nick Sirianni fan. I think that he is too emotional to be kind of the head, the CEO of a team. But for whatever reason, this team really rallies around him and likes him, and the fans pick fights with him. It's a strange situation, but he's going to get whatever he wants. They're going to pay him. He has got a ton of leverage now, having the Lombardi Trophy and the Super Bowl win. All right, now let's switch on over to the Chiefs. What does this mean for the Chiefs? Well, no three-peat. Again, still has never seen it happen in NFL history. And part of it, I think, is just the fatigue that it takes. A back-to-back is strenuous enough. That's why it doesn't happen that often anyway in the NFL. But to win 3 in a row and to play the amount of games that you have to play in order to win 3 in a row with the same type of dudes, it has to be exhausting. And I don't blame this on fatigue or the amount of games that they played, because they just weren't ready for it. But this Chiefs team was a really good team, and they just got beat by a defensive front. I mean, if the offensive line for the Chiefs were able to hold up just a little bit more, and have Patrick be a little bit more comfortable in the pocket, this game is different. And I think that the throw that Braun intercepted, the offensive lineman was pushed back into Patrick, and he was hit as he was throwing the ball. So if you were hold up another half a second, maybe you get a completion and not an interception. Just little things like that the offensive line just couldn't protect. And I think that the Chiefs have done well enough the last couple of years, obviously winning 2 Super Bowls and appearing in a third, that you look at the offensive line and you say, okay, well, it's kind of patchwork. You move Joe Thuney over to left tackle from left guard. You do all of these things, but it doesn't really work out. I mean, it doesn't really work out here tonight. And they've kind of patchworked this offensive line, and they've tried to fix some things. So I do expect, because it's a lot easier to make changes after a loss like this than it is after a win. When you win 2 Super Bowls in a row and you say, all right, this is it's working enough. We have reached the mountaintop twice with this. I think it's easy to say we're going to stick with it. Instead, now after this blowout loss and the partial reason because of your offensive line, you go out and you make some changes happening. I do think that Travis Kelce is done. I think that he retires at the end of this year. He obviously would have preferred to retire after a three-peat, but I think that he's lost his step. I think that there are a lot of other outlets for Mahomes that can be. Noah Gray has played great in the regular season. The last couple of seasons, this year he played really well in the regular season, and so I think that they're going to tap into that, and I think that Travis is going to be done. Doesn't seem as explosive as possible. So we'll see. Maybe he wants to try to run it back one more time and see what happens. But I think that Travis Kelce is going to retire at the end of the year. I don't necessarily think that this is going to matter in terms of Patrick Mahomes' career. Now he has 2 Super Bowl losses. He's 3-2 in the Super Bowl. I don't think that we have the same type of admiration for losses or detrimental losses in the Super Bowl as you do the NBA Finals. Everyone points to Michael Jordan and Mahomes and his LeBron having 4 losses in the NBA Finals and Mike having none. I don't think that we do that in the NFL. Getting to the Super Bowl is extremely hard, and so even if you lose in that game, I don't think we are as punitive in terms of legacies. But 3-2, and this game he was bad. There was, again, the offensive line deteriorated. It's the same thing that happened in Tampa where they only scored 9 points. But he was not good in the first half. And some of that is the offensive line. He started rushing his throws. So I don't think that he was necessarily good in this moment. But I don't know if we're going to look at him and say, maybe he's not as great as we think he is. Because he has been in this moment time and time again. I don't think that there's any contemporary. You can't say Josh Allen's better than him. You can't say Lamar Jackson is better than him. You still can't say that Jalen Hurts is better than him. There's no contemporary that he is competing with right now because none of them have been able to, except now Jalen Hurts, have been able to beat him really in a meaningful game. So I don't think that that's going to change necessarily the legacy of Patrick Mahomes. Just the offensive line got worked tonight. I mean, that was it. The offensive line got worked. Mahomes made a couple bad throws, and that's the game. I mean, that's kind of it. As I look to next season, I still would expect that the Eagles are probably going to be the favorites. Them and the Lions are going to be the favorites in the NFC, and those 3 Chiefs, Ravens, Bills are going to be the favorites in the AFC as they should. I don't think that, these 2 teams are really good, and I don't think that that's going to change over the offseason. But we'll see. It was a great football season. I always really get excited in August when football season is here. And then, tonight is maybe one of the saddest nights of the years. There's no more football on until August. But Philadelphia, I mean, deserved this win from opening whistle to the last whistle. It was all Eagles. They deserve the win. They're your 2024-2025 Super Bowl champions. And I'm just now we're gonna talk some basketball and switch over gears a little bit to the NFL draft coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So that's the instant reaction. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We will be back with another video soon. Peace.